One baby to another says, I'm lucky to have met you. I don't care what you think, unless it's about me. It is now my duty to completely drain you. I travel through a tube and end up in your infection. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter, from deep in the bowels of our underground lair, where we're swatting down every single lawsuit that the left can throw at us. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing okay when you put it that way. I don't know how I'm doing, but yeah, just ugly out there, ain't it?
Yeah, a little uncivil these days.
Well, it is. It you know, I got a lot to say about that, but just hold off for 1 second.
Right.
We got to honor the Twins that they actually won a playoff game.
They have gone in one fell swoop from having the longest losing streak in the postseason in all of major league sports to having the shortest.
What an incredible accomplishment, though. You got to give it to them. I mean, you can't do that on purpose.
No.
I mean, you got to be skilled to lose that much. You really
18 in a row, baby.
So just think back with the last time the Twins won a playoff game, it was the Bush-Carey election was coming up. It's 2004. So we've gone through 4 presidents since they won. They won the last playoff game. I'll tell you what, here's the thing. Back in 87 when they won it, they had not made the postseason since 1970. Of course, it was harder to make it back then. But just think, they went longer without – they won the same amount of games just during that span. It just – the other years they didn't make it.
Yeah.
So pretty I mean, look, I don't know that they're going to go anywhere, but I'm just happy the damn thing is over. I'm just
one down, one to go, right?
Well, till the next round. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see them getting by Baltimore or Houston, but – 5-game series. I mean, anything can happen. So I don't know.
Well, if they actually get a series under their belt, I mean, that's that's even if it's 2 out of 3.
The last time they won a series was 2002. So I mean, you're going back 21 years to winning the postseason series.
Ugh.
So yeah, I mean, it would be incredible to break. I mean, you'd have to call it a successful season.
Yeah,
just breaking those 2 things, but. I don't. Halfway through the year, I said Baltimore and Atlanta were the 2 teams. I'm going to stick with them.
Yeah,
I'll throw a wild card out there for the Phillies. I think the Phillies are a team.
Really,
with the Dodgers banged up. I think the Phillies are a team with Nola and Wheeler and Bryce Harper and a couple other guys in the middle of the order. I think that they are a team that could. If they get on a roll, they're a team. But I still think it's Atlanta against the field.
I really wasn't ever much of a Phillies fan. I'm more so than an Atlanta fan, that's for sure.
Yeah, I never liked the only time I remember liking the Phillies was the John Crook days. Lenny Dykstra, Kurt Schilling days. But Atlanta, I always hated them, even though I liked a lot of their players. I always loved Greg Maddux, and I always. Chipper Jones was a great player.
As far as the National League goes, I was always like Pirates and Padres.
Okay, that's ugly.
Why?
Talk about a team that hasn't won a playoff series in a while.
Well,
I think the Pirates, you have to go back to their 79 World Championship team. Bert Blyleven was on that team, and that's how long you have to go back.
Wow.
Padres, I always loved Tony, but
Tony Gwynn,
the late Tony Gwynn,
Craig Nettles.
Sure. Yeah. Well, of course, I remember, in my mind, he's a Yankee, but, that's all the Yankees I have to keep for myself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I remember when I got cable, I really got into the Cubs. We see Gossage is a Yankee to me, too. Because I always loved Ryan Sandberg and Andre Dawson.
Oh, yeah. Cubs. Yeah, I was a Cubs fan.
And, Greg Maddux was on the team then before he was in Atlanta, so... Because in 1989, that was the year we got cable, and I remembered the Cubs made the playoffs that year. So
I mean, it could be worse. You could be a Montreal Expos fan, and
you could be. I mean,
hard to do.
Probably pretty lonely as
the only thing worse than being a Montreal Expos fan is having a team like the Montreal Expos and thinking it's an upgrade to move to Washington, D.C.
Yeah. Well, they've certainly done better there, but yeah, Montreal was. Just,
they have a better record.
Well, here's the thing is, and we'll get off baseball in a second, but Montreal over the years, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, although they rarely put a great team together, had some really good players.
Oh, yeah.
Gary Carter and Tim Raines, and that's where Andre Dawson started.
Yeah.
Pedro Martinez, that's where Larry Walker, Jeff Reardon, that's where he got him from. You know, I mean, they had some dang good. Tim Wallach was a great third baseman for many years in the 80s. Bill Gullickson and Charlie Leah and pitcher. And they made the playoffs a couple times in the early 80s and never put it together. And then when baseball's economics changed, I mean, Montreal, I mean, the only thing they care about is hockey. So it's a hard place to make it. Their stadium was a dump. And, they weren't a long-term, they never were going to make it there.
Right.
So, all right. Why do I think I know the song again?
You might. It wasn't necessarily one of their singles, but it's one of those albums where you sing along to most of it.
Oh, can you do it? It's Pearl Jam.
Right era, wrong band.
Okay, so it's grunge.
Yeah.
It's grunge, 90s grunge. Well, who's 90s grunge? It's Sublime. It's Crash Test Dummies. It's Nirvana. It's, Motley Crue. Burt Bacharach.
Well, Motley Crue certainly did put out albums during this period. Yes.
Okay, you'll have to tell me, Jay. I don't know.
It is Nirvana.
Hey,
the song is called "Drain You" because that is what our government is doing to us, and we'll talk about that.
That's right. And drain you can mean a whole lot of things. We're talking about your money. Get your mind out of the gutter out there.
They drain us. They're what politics, right? Poly meaning many, ticks meaning blood-sucking
exactly
insects. So, yes.
Can I say one thing? Yes. I hate politics. I so hate it. Why is it, Jay, I didn't choose to love it.
Yeah.
Okay? It's kind of like I grew up and I was good at math. I was good at history. I couldn't draw.
Yeah. And
some people can draw and they're great at science and they stink at English or,
Yeah.
I didn't choose to. This is in my blood. I don't follow it because I apologize for it. I truly and honestly shut it off any chance I can. So why is it that I was born for this? There has to be a reason. I'm not so sanguine that I think fatalistic that I think everything. But why? Because I feel like I have to defend it a lot. It's like when I wanted to be a professional wrestler.
Yeah.
And I remember all I did was defend wrestling. Yeah. That's phony. Jump in a ring. Get thrown around by a guy who's 400 pounds and tell me that's phony. Get cut from ring ropes and have cuts under your armpit that never heal.
Yeah.
Sharpshooter and tell me that's fake. All I did was defend it.
Yeah.
Then I feel like with politics, because everybody knows I'm political, I have to defend it all the time. And I'm sick of defending it. I hate it.
Here is the distinction I make. I hate politics. And I think politics has ruined this country. The
lawyers and lobbyists have ruined this country.
Playing team politics, all of that. I love government, and I think our government was set up in such a way, the best ever, the most freedom ever, and if you exercise government in the way that it was intended, it's a beautiful thing.
True, but we haven't done that since Jackson's days.
Well,
okay?
I know. So that's a problem.
I think him getting rid of the bank was the last small government thing that ever happened.
Yeah. Cleveland did some things.
I'm joking. I'm being a little facetious there.
Grover Cleveland had some moments.
It was just great.
Silent Cal.
Yeah, what was great is when I became like the Civil War buff that I was and wrote my book on it, I can remember that is the first time we ever had an income tax.
Right.
And President Lincoln, who didn't write a lot, made it very clear that this tax is to expire when this war ends.
Yep.
Period. And the only reason that it passed was because, and then after Lincoln's death and Congress came back in 1865, they voted up and down with President Johnson to remove that income tax. And you'd never in a million years see that happen today.
Absolutely not.
All sides agreed that it was a wartime measure, and we are not using this as an excuse to grow government. We're not using it as an excuse to spend more. No, we are ending this right now. We had a civil war. So when we talk about, and I want to talk about the reason I hate politics here for a minute, but and that's a good segue, because that's something that you get sold that a tax is for something and that it stays forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do we have an alcohol tax in Minnesota? Well, that's to pay the bonds off on the Metrodome. Well, the Metrodome don't exist anymore.
Right.
But we're still paying the taxes. So, anyway. But we have to address what happened with this avoiding a shutdown and Speaker McCarthy getting ousted.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I mean, however you want to put it. Because when I heard this today, my phone dinged. I was driving truck at work, my day job, and I was trying to listen to the Twins game. And I sign up to, I don't get AM real well, but I sign up, to the Wall Street Journal and to a few other places where I get news, quote unquote, just not from the mainstream.
Right.
And I get dinged a few times, all at once, that Kevin McCarthy has been removed as the Speaker of the House. Now, Jay, I want to get your take on what happened. I mean, you can address it any way you want to. The shutdown, the extension now, the funding for 45 days, the politics of it, whatever. And then I'll correct you when you're done. I'll give you the correct version.
Okay.
But just give me, and to those listening to this, I know this will be news a little later for you, but we're kind of talking about this in real time here. This happened like 6 hours ago. Okay, so what is your take on what is going on and what happened? I mean, McCarthy's tenure was, I don't want to call it controversial at the beginning, but it was certainly everybody wasn't behind him for Speaker for whatever reason. I gave my thoughts on that at the time, and I sided with McCarthy because I painfully sat through a Sean Hannity, Lauren Boebert interview where Boebert couldn't articulate one thing, one reason. And to Hannity's credit, he pushed her. And I just said, God, geez, you know what? That's my ding that this is all personal. This is all your buddy's not on this committee or blah, blah, blah. And I just washed my hands of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't see coming what happened today. I didn't see this coming. With the extension, I thought, okay, it's more time to work on this, more time for the votes to rally, more time for, that was my thinking, like, okay, we're not ready to go forward as a party. We're not ready to get something that'll pass the Senate, by the way. I mean, there's a lot of steps to this.
Right.
So we need more time. And the Republicans will lose the politics of the shutdown every single time. So when I heard that, I'm like, okay, all right. Behind the scenes, there's already maneuvering is what I figured. The smoke-filled room already had the stogies in it. That's what I thought. Now, you pick it up here. What do you think happened? Well, how do you view it?
Well, back when this originally happened, and people can go back and listen to the podcast from back then and see, what we thought. I did side more on the side of Matt Gaetz and stuff. I'm with you, though. I saw that Lauren Boebert interview on Hannity, and I was like, ouch. That was not
I still
good.
like her. I still think she's, she just shoots herself in the foot too much.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. She definitely needs a consultant or two.
But I understood it. And there were some back and forth about so-and-so needs to be on this committee, on that committee, but it wasn't about, because so-and-so is my buddy. It's because there's this internal fighting between the Freedom Caucus and your establishment Republicans. And the establishment Republicans, unfortunately, give away way too much to the Democrats. It happens every time. They were sick and tired of the omnibus bills. They were sick and tired of the condition of the border. They were sick and tired of the never-ending spending. So it really was to put in some mechanisms to be able to force the Republican Party to start acting like the Republican Party and not just acting in general. Oh yes, we care about these things, and then passing them when the omnibus bill comes through the House. Now, that leads us to today. McCarthy worked all of this stuff out for this CR bill that kicked the can down the road another 45 days.
And that means continuing resolution,
yes.
By the way.
Right.
You'll hear the CR bill. If you're watching the news in the next week or two, you'll hear that 200 times.
There has been such a cry and a call for a balanced budget. The Congress has not passed. When was the last time they passed a budget? 98.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was Gingrich's last year.
Yeah. So it has been forever since we've had a budget. Instead, we just keep doing these continuing resolutions.
And quite frankly, a balanced budget in government speak is, that's relative. But the 95 to 98, I think, was the last time. And before that, you have to go back to the 20s, I think.
Yeah.
You have to go back pre-New Deal, I want to say.
Yeah.
So for sure. It's been a long time.
Been a long time.
And Republicans and Democrats have both controlled the White House. They both controlled the House. They both controlled the Senate.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a uniparty when it comes to too much spending. It's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And so we have spent ourselves into oblivion. We have spent not only our future, but our children's future, and probably our children's children's future, and maybe even more than that, on Ukraine. And
which is something taken out of the continuing resolution bill, by the way.
Right.
No funding for Ukraine.
Yeah.
Which is interesting that McCarthy was able to get that through. Because a lot of Republicans have supported the spending on that. But anyway, I'm interrupting.
Right. So
I still need to correct you here.
So there are a number of things that just aren't happening. And this omnibus bill ended up passing. There were 90 Republicans that said no to this. 90.
So,
that's not a small number.
Yeah, there's 224 Republicans, I want to say. It's like 224 to 210.
Something like that. Or 222 to 210, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a big majority, but yeah.
No, it's not. So that is where a lot of this came in, and there was a promise that was made that they weren't going to do any more continuing resolutions, not going to do any more omnibus bills. They were going to stop the spending on the border. They were going to stop giving money to Ukraine. All of these things that they were going to work towards, and this just kicked the can down the road another 45 days.
Okay.
So,
go ahead.
So I tend to agree with Chip Roy on this. This is maybe the right move, but it's not the right time. Why when this is only a 45-day thing, if they do 45 and another 45 and another 45, okay, idiots. You're not going to do it.
Well, but it's a good deal if they can cut a better deal each time. But
yeah, it is. I don't know if I believe in their ability to do that.
Okay,
and you have enough Republicans that can't seem to agree on at least going after something, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's the border, whether it's the spending, and because of that, and because of they're not really doing anything. I mean, it's just more of the same. I understand why this happened, but I think that we could have waited till closer to the end of the year to see if we actually did put a plan together and tried to push back on some of this stuff. I don't think it's the right time. But Republicans do at some point have to grow a backbone and say, we're not going to allow you to keep spending on the border. We're not going to allow you to keep shoveling endless money to Ukraine. We're not going to keep spending just in general. They have got to figure this out, because we are on a path that is going to end up with a currency-based digital-based currency that we are going to end up with people not being able to afford food, not being able to afford rent, where we don't own our own transportation, where the government owns 30% of the land and eventually 50% of the land, where we're eating synthetic food at best, bugs at worst, where we're going to end up not being able to take flights, except for very rare occasions. What is coming down the pike is not what any of us would like to see.
Okay.
And Republicans have to put an end to it sooner or later. We cannot keep playing this game. It's dangerous.
Okay. Well, my sentiments are with you. This is where I have to look at it through a political reality. I love being principled. Mm-hmm. I love saying, you know what? Government's supposed to do this, this, and this, and that's the end of it. Here's the problem with the Getz way, or with this whole promises about continuing resolutions. They don't have the votes. I mean, I have to be real here, and there's two things that are absolute certainties. One, they certainly don't have the votes in the Senate. They don't have the White House, and Republicans do not know how to play a government shutdown to their advantage. True. So I have to factor that in here. Would I love it if the Department of Education were thrown in the Indian Ocean? Yes, but they don't have the votes. What they should be doing is doing everything they can, whether that's border money, cutting off the Ukraine crap. They're not going to get everything they want. Under no circumstances is that going to happen. And what they should be doing is, and what Getz and these freedom people ought to be doing, they ought to be recruiting primary challengers to these wishy-washy Republicans. McCarthy ought to be recruiting right now candidates for next year to run against vulnerable Democrats. There's probably 50 or more that either won by the skin of their teeth, that's what should be going on. They should go, okay, can't get everything we want. Look, and I'm sure these conversations have happened, but look, we can get this on the border, we can cut this, we can stop this, we can blah, blah, blah. We can get these 10 things, but we can't get any more. It's just not a reality. I mean, yeah, you can say grow a backbone, and you're right, but there's a political reality that they don't know how to play a shutdown, and they could so easily win that argument.
Yeah.
And they just won't make it. They'll be on the defensive. It'll be, the soldiers aren't getting paid. Oh, little Johnny's not getting his food stamps. The liberals beat them at that every time.
Yep.
And B, you don't have the Senate and the White House. You have a limited amount right now that you can do. It's just the truth. Do I like it? No. But that's the truth. And you can either fight with each other the whole time, but what you should be doing is saying, okay, how do we go from 224 seats to 250?
Yeah.
How do we do that? Because we don't have the votes right now to do everything we want to. And I don't see how that changes with McCarthy out. What changes now?
Yeah, I don't know.
So, I mean, was McCarthy the big person in the way there? I mean, I maybe he was. I don't know.
I know there's people that felt like he lied and didn't keep up his end of the bargain, what he promised to do.
Well, right, but maybe he tried to.
Maybe.
And maybe I'm sure there's some Republicans that voted not to do that too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. Okay, so let's say a new person comes in. I'm not passing nothing. I'm not doing this or doing this. Okay, what does that get us?
Yeah.
Where are we 30 days from now then? Where are we 90 days from now? Guess what? They're going to backtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Something's going to happen and nobody's going to be happy again. I just, like you said, it's the wrong fight for the wrong time. And to me, a 45-day continuing resolution tells me that McCarthy wants to do more and ran out of clock, or he doesn't have the votes yet, or he needs to wheel and remember, it's got to go through the Senate. Although I think McCarthy should just not worry about that. That's not his job to get it through there. But, because what is that, 50-50 with Harris breaking the tie, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, but again, how are we any closer to what the quote-unquote freedom whoever that is, how are we any closer right now we're almost back to the drawing board now.
Right. Well, if you have a border, if you had something in there about the border, you might be well, it's not much of anything.
Again, it's not what everybody wants. It's not the perfect bill. I get that. But
yeah, I mean, you can't wait for the perfect bill, but there's so much going on right now, and it's hard. It's hard to know what hole to stick your finger in to stop the bleeding.
True, but maybe that's the problem again with an omnibus bill. There's no way you can do that.
Yeah,
because you have to horse trade.
Right. Meaning,
if you want border security, you're going to have to give something to the other. You have to give a bone to somebody else, and I do agree with Matt Getz in this respect. If you want to pass a bill to pay the military, you can pass one. What's stopping us from doing that? No,
right.
Nothing. And he's right about that, because what the Dems want to do is they want to avoid having any lengthy discussion about, government spending. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, at some point, you have to say, okay, let's get everything we can and let's live to fight another day. Maybe that's not what people want to hear.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, what should be going on behind the scenes is primarying those wishy-washy Republicans, recruiting good candidates to run in these swing districts. That should have been going on 6 months ago.
Right.
And that should be, a big priority there. So
yeah.
And I don't know. I don't have any confidence that that's going to happen. I am zero.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, the Dems, they don't have quality candidates either. Nobody does.
No. Everybody's terrible. The only people that want to run for seats anymore are just terrible. I don't know.
Or they have money, or they have they're celebrities. Or it's become a joke. We've made it a joke.
Yeah.
We've made it a beauty pageant.
Right.
And
what you heard, right, with this, with Dianne Feinstein passing away, like there was a push to actually make Meghan Markle the next senator from California.
Yeah.
But you heard the I don't remember her name, the lady that they actually she doesn't live in California. She lives in Maryland but has a second house in California.
Well, in California that's Newsom's appointment until next year, because that's when Feinstein seats up.
Right.
So
I mean, really? You're going to take somebody that lives in Maryland to represent
a state
California?
of 50 million people, and you can't find one Californian.
Well, because he had to hire a black woman.
That's right. He had to check the boxes.
Yes.
Exactly. So, I mean,
had to be a union person. Had to.
My favorite thing was the AP put out something about calling Dianne Feinstein a liberal activist and a centrist Democrat in the same sentence. And I just laughed. I'm just like, how can you be both? I mean, only a Democrat would ever be described that way.
Right.
It's hilarious that they actually tweeted that. It was Molly Hemingway who gave it all the pub. I saw it from her tweets, but so thank you to her. But yeah, just the liberal wild fighter centrist. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to tell you something, and I don't mean to beat up on somebody who's dead, and I really don't like saying this, but the fact that you're 90 and can't walk and can't see and poop your pants, and yet you can't quit.
Right. Well,
I personally think that's pathetic.
I think there were people not letting her quit. I really do. She wasn't doing any campaigning. You tell me she's done any campaigning in 20 years?
Probably not. But
no.
Why don't the people around her, why don't her family... I think her husband had passed away a while back.
She might not even know she's running.
Yeah.
I mean, really, she might not even know she's running.
If that were my mom, I would never let that happen. I would never let her get made a fool of. I would say, you know what? You've done your duty. Whatever you think of Dianne Feinstein, she's served. It's enough. Let her be a grandmother, or a great-great-great-great-grandmother, whatever the hell she was. Let her do that. She's earned it, whether you like it or not.
But it's just it's easier when you can wheel her in for a vote, tell her what button to press, and wheel her back out.
They wheeled Kamala Harris in to do the same thing. Find another one of her. I mean, they just voted how they were told. I mean, I did again in California. You can't find a Democrat anywhere other than somebody who is fallen and they can't get up. I mean, I just
try throwing a rock in Hollywood. You'll hit at least 10 of them.
Well, right. But I mean, I remember about 6 months or a year ago, I saw her being, and of course the media didn't film her much, tried to protect her. But I mean, she literally couldn't walk. She literally had to have somebody guide her into she wasn't going to committee hearings.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but I find people who can't let go of something pathetic. That's just not something to admire.
Yeah.
It isn't something to be the longest serving. I don't want to hear longest serving anywhere near my name.
No. No, not unless you took up tennis.
Yeah, even then I still want to. I want to serve it long. All right, Jay.
Yes.
We've as always we've veered off of the beaten path, but it's not going to get any better. Speaking of omnibus bills.
Or ominous bills, as I like to call them.
Yeah, and how much they suck, and how much they hurt, and how much having a governor who, A, will not stand up to anybody in his party, B, will not utilize the tools. I mean, I've often said when I'm governor, Jay, the greatest friend that I will have is the line item veto. Mm-hmm. I'm so excited. God, I hope I get to do this someday.
Yeah.
Go through a bill and use that veto 400 times. I'm going to say, listen, Melissa Horrible, you send me an omnibus bill. You thinking that I won't do what I say I'm going to do? Send it to me. And I will send it back to you with so many vetoes all over it. You're going to be hearing veto in your sleep for the next 15 years. Okay? And this is what it is. This is this deal making, this idea that we're going to throw 400 things together, even though we have a constitution in Minnesota that says the opposite.
Yeah.
No bill should have more than one single subject.
Yes.
With a T, not an S.
Yes.
Okay. And we get our omnibus tax bill from last year, which we're still unraveling, by the way, all the BS that was in it. Okay. And one of the things just went into effect this week. A 1% increase, 1%, which I know doesn't sound like much, but it's a lot of money.
Yes.
To the sales tax of only the 7-county metro, which already has the highest sales taxes in the state, I might add. It's funny, in those red counties, they don't seem to do this as much. I don't know why. But a 1% increase. Minneapolis' sales tax is now pushing over 9%.
Yeah, I don't buy anything in Minneapolis.
I certainly try not to. But the consequence, and I just love, You know, one thing you got to love about the people who pitch sales tax increases is it's always going to the children.
Right.
You know, it's always going to grandma. You know, it's always going to the poor. I swear, if all the government money that was going to the poor actually went to the poor, they'd be richer than Bill Gates.
Yes.
These people are never going to see a nickel of this. It's all going to go to bureaucrats. It's going to go to government pensions.
Yep.
Union dues. That's where this money is going to end up. We all know that, so I don't want to hear that it's going to this nonsense that you hear.
Sorry, just because you mentioned it's all going to the children, quote unquote. I this is kind of unrelated, but I got to throw this out there because you parents need to watch what's happening in the schools. My youngest is in 6th grade this year, just started 6th grade. And I'm not going to say what district he's in. I'll leave that up to mystery. But as with all 6th grade students, as when you were in 6th grade and I was in 6th grade, there's a requirement to study 1 semester of Minnesota history. You know, interesting class.
The state of Minnesota.
Right. But, you know, we had to learn about the Voyagers. We had to learn about their relationship with the Indians.
Back to the Vikings. Why do we have the Vikings? Yeah.
Here's how they started the year in Minnesota history class.
Oh, boy.
They went way back in Minnesota history to do a unit on the passing of a bill that gave all kids free meals at school. You tell me that's Minnesota history?
It's Minnesota history in the last 6 months.
I mean, what's next? Our dry summer leading into all the rain we've had in the past couple of weeks?
That's right, caused by global warming.
Is that the next unit that they're going to study?
Don't give them any ideas.
Ridiculous. Teach them what they need to know, please. Stop wasting my tax dollars on this stupid crap.
By the way, there was a press conference that Education Minnesota held that they are concerned about so many competitive races for school board.
Good.
That they're very worried.
Should be concerned.
And, there's outside money coming in. Well, what do you think you people have done for the last 50 years?
Outside money.
By the way, why can't anybody in the teachers union, why can't any women have a decent haircut? I just ask why. I mean, seriously, they all look like Butch Cassidy. Why?
Butch Cassidy.
God.
I don't know. I haven't gone exploring
it's
that
like if
route.
You're ugly, it's a requirement to be part of a teachers union. God. All right, I don't mean that. I'm just going off on. But why do you put people on TV that, I mean, you don't watch Dr. Phil like I do. Okay, no. Dr. Phil's women have the worst haircuts in the history of the I don't know how he sits there. His bald head looks better than that. And so, but it's just going up there going, duh. Man, just it's hard to look. I mean, it's like I'd rather look at Jan Malcolm. It's pretty awful. Okay, now
their head, it's just huge. It's like Sputnik, but round and pointy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this one. By the way, this includes the 50-cent delivery fee. But here's the thing. Let me back up a second. The DFL is very famous for protecting the children, being the voice of the poor.
Yes.
The voice of the people who have no say. Yet any tax that is regressive in nature.
Yes.
I have called for the abolishment of our sales tax because, number one, it's the fairest way to do a tax. Because the Republican focus on the income tax just where half the people don't pay one, and you have to, part of the problem is the federal system.
Yeah.
You really can't do it without cooperation there. Their focus on the income tax goes nowhere.
Right.
And it has gone nowhere for 30 years, yet they continue to focus on that. You got to focus on the taxes everybody pays.
Right.
See, and here's the thing. This is the problem with that. Let me just educate you Republicans out there. Jay, you and I can make the very same amount of money and pay completely different income taxes.
Yeah.
Based on a number of factors. You have kids, own your home.
How much comes from income and how much comes from capital gains? Exactly.
You can make the same amount and pay nothing close to each other.
Right.
Whereas sales tax, you and I walk in and buy the same lawnmower.
Yeah.
We're paying the same thing no matter what our income is.
Right.
And to me, that's why that's the fairest way to do a tax.
Yeah.
You get rid of something that everybody gets. Everybody benefits from. You don't have to have 3 kids, one with 3 ears and one with 4 eyes and one with 1 leg. You to get a $500 tax credit. You don't have to do that. That's where the manipulation goes. That's where the lawyers and the lobbyists get in there and all that. And I just cannot understand. And again, I don't know if this is media. I don't know if this is Republican incompetence. I don't know what it is. How does the DFL get away with raising taxes on the poor? I mean, the poor are hurt the most by raising gas taxes, raising sales taxes.
Absolutely.
We're not sitting at 8% inflation. It's more like 50. And yet, 50 over time. And yet they get away with these things all the time. And if they had it this way, this would be much, much worse.
Yeah.
So why is it that they get away with this? I mean, what is it that either people don't see or the opposite side isn't capitalizing on? And I just love too, you're a Democrat sitting up there in St. Louis County. You could vote to tax the metro area all you want to. You'll never pay any price for this.
And in fact,
what is this? Don't we have under the Constitution a right to be treated equal?
Yeah. But I would say that it's even encouraged in outstate Minnesota because in the metro, we never quite pay enough. Any kind of undue burden that's put on outstate Minnesota, and I understand. I mean, this is where most of the population is. This is where, thanks to whatever, bulk of the road work happens. This is where,
and to be fair to outstate Minnesota, they're also paying for stadiums, for the Met Council, for light rail. I mean,
and they shouldn't be.
Yeah, but to be fair, they are. So they do have a more legitimate gripe there. Like, hey, we're paying for stuff that we're not getting. So you pay for it. You want this crap in the 7 county metro, you pay for it yourself.
Right.
But again, as the state where that should be manipulated by, and this is where, again, how much higher can these taxes go? I mean, you're talking near 10% in St. Paul. I mean, how much? And again, the poorest neighborhoods hit the hardest by this.
Absolutely, they do.
And their mayor, their representative, they don't seem to have a damn clue about this. I mean, they just don't seem to be very in tune with how much everything is costing people. So, I mean, how much higher can these taxes go? I mean, how much?
Well, I guess the sky's the limit. I mean, really, the limit is when we're paying in 100% of our income to cover taxes, because then you can have everything administered by the government. We just give the government 100% of our money, and we don't have to own a vehicle. We can call one when we need one. We don't have to own a home. We can rent. We don't have, and they can just pay for it. Subsidized housing. We work where they tell us to work. That really is, if you take this to its final destination, that is really as far as you can take it.
It's the Soviet Union under Stalin is about as far as you can take it. And I'll tell you what, here's the other thing with this 1% increase. And Jay, it is very hard to get a handle on where this money's going exactly. Because
you don't say.
Well, of course not. Tax estimate experts say that, first of all, a quarter of the 1% is going to go to, quote, affordable housing, whatever that means.
Yeah.
The other 0.75% is going to, quote, transportation, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Most of the funding, here's another thing. This is where is the transparency here? Most of the funding, this is the housing funding, would provide aid to local governments to assist with housing development. So you're going to take my money, send it to the state. The state's going to then send it to the locals. How much money's lost just right there? Just asking.
Yeah.
And what are they going to do with it? The government's going to get in the housing building business now? What, subsidized builders? Oh, isn't that? Oh, I'm sorry. Isn't that helping millionaires and billionaires?
Local governments already do it. You know, when you look at tax abatements and TIF financing, and they're already subsidizing builders.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, this is omnibus here.
Yeah.
Ominous, I mean. Quote, housing is a huge crisis in Minnesota. I actually don't agree with that, but I don't think it's a crisis. And it needs a big fix. So we're going to put the government in charge. Great job there.
Yeah.
This sales tax is one tool to use to move us forward, said, listen to this, Ben Helvig Anderson, Vice President of Policy and Organizing and Beacon Interfaith Housing Collaborative.
Oh, goodness.
The hell is that?
Beacon Interfaith Housing Collaborative. Well,
And of
that's
course,
a mouthful.
And of course, this will go to us middle class people. No. You pay your own bills.
Yeah.
If you don't want to work or you have 3 kids by the time you're 20, you'll get everything for free, as always. The federal rental assistance program has been very much underfunded. Yeah, right. Everything's underfunded. Why don't you tell Ukraine to pay for their own war then?
Yeah.
The state is short more than 100,000 affordable rental homes, according to an analysis by the National Low Income Housing Coalition. Well, I wonder if they're looking for any state. I wonder if any state has enough. And by the way, can I just say something here? If you want to lower the cost of housing, I can think of about 1 million things the government can do.
Yeah.
From reducing property taxes to lowering permit fees to getting rid of point-of-sale inspections, to getting the hell out of the way when it comes to purchasing land, stop putting restrictions on what can or can't be built, stop putting green requirements on new homes and all that stuff. There's a gazillion things government can do, and they do none of them.
Yeah, housing has been made so expensive, and not to mention, I mean, there's things the federal government does. Some of that is the green stuff coming down. Some of that is just all of the spending. You stop spending so that inflation can come down, and maybe then the interest rates can come down a little bit too, making housing more affordable.
Well,
for those
interest rates are out of the control of the government. They have ceded that to the big bankers at the Federal Reserve.
Right.
That's why when they talk about digital currency, it's not you that decides it. With all due respect, it's not. You've ceded that. You've ceded monetary policy to a group of bankers, most of which aren't in this country.
Yeah, well,
they're globalists.
Yeah,
they're multinational. They know no boundaries. They know no laws. They do what they want to.
The problem is, even to get like the cheapest of homes right now, the most affordable of homes, if you're going to buy one, you have to be making about $100,000 a year. That's unreal.
And not only that, but how many cities have we talked about who subsidize luxury homes?
Yeah.
And things like that. Oh, I'm not talking to you, New Hope. You spasticated spankularas. I'm not talking to you. You talk about affordable housing, and you just can't get by unless you have another 10% tax increase. But, hey, the millionaires and billionaires want to build some luxury apartments. Tell you what, we'll give you the land on the cheap. We'll give you abatements. We'll write a TIF district. And you can do whatever you want to. And by the way, I'm running for re-election. You can donate to my campaign through 3 straw people.
Right.
You know.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Representative Mike Howard, DFL Richfield, who authored the bill. Oh, you're the spasticated knucklebrain. Said the tax increase would support the development of 1,000 affordable homes and 1,000 rental units on an average per year and provide rental assistance. So not only do I have to build their homes, I got to pay the rent too. Well, tell me, Mr. Howard, what are you doing to lower the cost of this? You're subsidizing the wrong end.
Yeah.
It's like college. College is free. Well, that doesn't bring down the price. You're just giving somebody else the bill.
And which really has the opposite effect because it's going to make the prices keep going up.
Of course. There's no accountability for it.
It's all funny money. Hey, why don't we then charge $1 billion a year for college? Government will pay it. Why not?
Listen to this. The amount of rent assistance to eligible Minnesotans would be determined by a formula. Of course, everything's determined by a formula. The difference between 30% of household income and the rent charged at fair market price. That doesn't even make sense. Hey, supporters of the housing plan argue there's a real need for a much larger, quote, investment. So look for this to be just step one.
Ugh.
The transportation funding package, which, by the way, the transportation section of this alone is 21 pages long of where this money is allegedly going.
Sounds like a headache.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to read. It's too small a print. I can't read. You know, Jay, I hate to say this, but I'm gonna have to at some point get those silly glasses you got.
Yeah, it's inevitable. It comes with age. Sorry.
Now, how does that work? How does that work with my contacts?
Fine.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you wear contacts.
They're just like magnifying glasses you put on your face. That's all it is.
Huh.
So.
But, you know, the transport... I guess I should laugh. Just to even... I don't even know if I can stomach talking about the transportation portion.
Well, it's kind of our role so that other people don't have to read this. We kind of break it down for them.
Do we have to? The bump in sales tax, the author Frank Hornstein of Minneapolis was the major architect here. The last time we had a substantial transportation bill was in 2000. We had a gas tax hike. We had a transportation bill every dang year, not to mention a bonding bill.
Yes. Yeah, you notice how we're having bonding bills now every year? There's not really a bonding year anymore. It's just every year.
It's too. I can't read this. It's too ugly. It's just all ugly.
Yeah.
Do I have to read this crap?
Yep.
I hate this job. I just hate it, Jay. Okay. So the final bill, this also is part of the 50-cent fee on retail deliveries over $100 in the metro area. It indexes the gas tax to inflation. Isn't that great when inflation's so high?
Yeah.
Transportation planners, i.e. government bureaucrats, say Minnesota needs $27 billion to maintain roads and bridges. At the same time, they try to take your car away. And the state projects a $17 billion shortfall through 2042. The legislature, this plan is for transit and county road projects. Well, doesn't the county pay for that?
They should.
I mean, ain't that kind of their job?
Oh, we know that they get money from the state government all the time. I mean, some more than others, obviously. But, I mean, that's how often are localities crying about how much money they don't get or how much more money they wish they were getting from the state government.
Well, I mean, here's, again, with this mismatch of, I mean, this is why I go back to this. So Southwest just is a nightmare. It's a total nightmare. It's been just awful, horrible. The thing should be blown up. Yet, guess what? More transit funding. They don't care that it's been just a disaster. They don't care how much is spent on it. The means always justify the end.
Not one project in light rail has ever come close to the original dollar amount that they say they're going to spend.
Yeah, and the ridership is never what they predict either.
Oh, no. And it never pays for itself. You know, it
doesn't come close. They don't even try.
Every year, they have to go get more tax money to just pay for the maintenance on it.
It's just a joke. Listen to what Melissa Hartman says. How does she get away with this? Part of having progressive taxation is that we make sure that people who can afford to pay more do pay more. Wait a minute. Who did you just raise taxes on? Who's hit by the higher gas tax, the delivery fees, and the sales tax?
Yeah.
It's not the guy living on Lake Minnetonka. He won't even notice.
No.
And she gets away with saying this.
Absolutely. And this is the people that it hurts the most keep voting for the people that do these things to them. And it's...
Now, why is that, though? I mean, when you really think about it, Jay, what do you think? Are they getting enough free stuff that they just don't see that?
Possibly.
And, of course, the free stuff's never enough. It's never enough. It's never enough. It's never enough. More. I mean, if somebody's paying your rent, are you going to bite the hand that feeds you, even if you have to pay more in a tax? And then as soon as you accomplish something, that's the thing about welfare. The second you start making it on your own, well, that's when you really get screwed.
Right.
Oh, okay, I got a good job now. Oh, well, okay, good luck. Now you can pay all the taxes like everybody else can.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that was worth it. Maybe I should go back to McDonald's.
What I love about the progressive income tax, I remember when I used to be in corporate
But wait
America.
a minute. She says that we have progressive taxes, yet what taxes were they raising? The regressive ones.
Right.
She's lying through her teeth.
Oh, I know.
Her little yellow teeth. She's lying through.
Yeah, I love it though about the progressive income tax that we have. I remember working in corporate America and making a certain amount and then getting like a $5,000 raise and then going into a new tax bracket.
Worse is if you get a bonus.
Right. And all of a sudden I get moved into a higher tax bracket, which means that I make less take-home money than I did before I got the raise.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Well, and first off, why do we have tax brackets for people making 50, 60 grand? You know, I mean, why isn't it like you got to make 100,000 before you jump into a new tax bracket?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I don't understand. It's like, okay, so if you go from $50,000 a year to 60 and the government takes more, you end up taking home the same. So you have no incentive to get a raise. Getting a raise hurts you.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, we got to address Golden Valley real quick.
Yeah.
Because I honestly feel this is a podcast in and of itself. Because there's some things on the ballot this year. But this Golden Valley sales tax. So there is an actual ballot measure. Golden Valley has launched a, quote, tax referendum website, Building Golden Valley Forward, gv.org. Because, of course, that's what it's all doing when you're going forward. You know, It's always forward to raise taxes.
Right.
Golden Valley voters will consider whether to approve a 1.25% local sales tax increase on top of all of this to finance building projects over the next 30 years, i.e., they haven't saved a nickel,
Right.
so they want more money, which includes $105 million for the projects, plus interest and the cost of issuing bonds. So they're going to collect another tax, then bond, and then you'll pay interest on top of that.
Yeah.
The city put forward the investment. I love how they call it an investment. That's just so great.
Right.
That's just so great.
I mean, you
I
won't
want to
see
know.
a
I want to
nickel
know who
of
they
it.
hired as consultants,
Right.
because that's clearly something from there.
You won't see a nickel of your investment back in your pocket,
They will,
but they will. Yeah.
because the buildings housing the public works and police and fire departments can no longer adequately support delivery and emergency response. Well, you don't have any police officers, so why is it that they can't support it? I mean, you don't have any police officers, so why do they need a new building?
That's true.
New building to do what?
They could move into. There's some empty units in a strip mall that's about the size of their force.
This plan is about safety and efficiency.
Oh,
It said, where's the word streamline? I can't find streamline in here. Said city manager Tim. Oh boy, Cruiksashake. I don't know what the hell.
Wow.
As we look into the future of Golden Valley, our facilities must evolve to ensure Go evolve, facilities. Blah, 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 blah. To address these challenges, the city is proposing a long-term investment plan called Building Forward. Now, I want to build backwards. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
As a part of the plan, the city would acquire land outside of downtown for the construction of new public works buildings. The city would then build, blah, 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 blah. Now, let me get to where this really is a problem. And listen to I want you to hear you'll notice this, but I want everybody out there to notice this too. The cryptic language in what I'm about to say here. If you go all the way down to the bottom, I mean, I'm on Golden Valley, goldenvalleymn.gov under the sales tax section here.
Yeah.
And I want you to listen to this. Golden Valley residents approve the sales tax referendum. The city will move forward with design and construction work. If the sales tax referendum is not approved, the city council and staff will explore other ways to address the challenges of aging facilities. Now, what does that tell you? That tells me that they are doing this whether this passes or not.
Yep.
What they're trying to do is find another revenue stream to get this done. But they're going to bond this and they're going to build these things. Also tells me they want the Cadillac plan. Because a new building costs $100 million. So they got to want the Cadillac plan here. And if this isn't approved, then you're not going to see that. So to me, and by the way, the total cost of this, $190 million spread over 30 years.
Oh, goodness.
But I would say that the cost is much higher because construction costs will increase in the future.
Oh, yes.
Interest will increase in the future.
Yep.
You'll always pay more the more you put it out there. So, Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. And let me tell you, I mean, Golden Valley is trying to push for this. Whenever I'm driving around Golden Valley, I see a lot of Jillian Rosenquist for mayor signs. She's not going to fix this.
Of course she's not
No,
gonna
she
fix
is
it.
in support of this. So if you want to keep paying
She
more money,
She wouldn't know how to fix it if it ran her over and bit her in the ass at the
Well,
same time.
she thinks she is fixing it by passing it. She thinks
No,
that
she
she
wants
needs
it-
more of your money.
She wants another stream, another avenue. They've already got franchise fees. They've
Yeah.
already got property taxes, permit requirements, license fees, and it's not enough. That's basically what they're telling you.
Yeah.
That's not enough. We want more. And once again, who's going to get nailed with this? Lower and middle income people. That's who's going to get hurt by this the most.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to mention something too. Do you know what the sales tax is in Hudson, Wisconsin?
It's less. I don't remember how much less it is.
5.5%.
5.5%.
So if you're sitting in Washington County and you want to buy a few things, go across, drive across 94 and pay.
Why not?
I mean, but
Pick
if you
up
want
some fireworks.
And I realize there's certain tax exempt things in Minnesota, but that doesn't cover.
No.
You can go there and pay less in gas.
Yeah. Absolutely. Sure. Food and clothes. I guess you
food if you buy it at a grocery store.
Right. It has to be at a grocery store.
If I buy dinner at a gas station, I'm paying tax.
Absolutely, you are.
Even though if I buy the same thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, just ominous things from Golden Valley. So this is the thing. You're getting these new buildings, but it's like we talked about in Elk River. Remember with the hockey arena?
Right.
You're either paying this tax, we're building it one way or another.
Right.
So there you go. And of course, the state government, thank you so much for giving Golden Valley the opportunity to do this. This is what I love here. I love reading this as if there is the 2023 legislative session. State lawmakers determined the projects meet their threshold for offering regional impact and approved the city's proposal. Well, what wouldn't meet it? Tell me something this legislature would turn down.
Right.
Give me any scenario.
Yeah, they haven't met a tax they don't want.
I mean, what, a statue to Norm Coleman? Is that the only thing that they would say no to? I mean, seriously, what else would it be? I can't think of anything.
I can't think of anything.
So they met their threshold, like there is one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but I guess what I'm getting at is just think about this. Golden Valley's looking at a 2.25% tax increase on sales tax in 1 year.
Yep.
2.25%.
Yes, indeed. That's a lot.
It's called Insane in the Membrane.
Yes.
Is that a song by somebody? Insane in the Membrane.
Yes.
I don't know who it is.
Cypress
it's
Hill.
Tupac or something. It's
Cypress
Tupac.
Hill, I think.
Okay, I don't know who they are. I've heard of them, though.
Yeah.
It's not Biggie Smalls?
No.
Okay.
That came later.
I have no idea. No clue. I admit I have no clue. A funny thing about that, when I think back on it, there is some early hip hop I kind of like.
Yeah.
I didn't like it when it became, yo mama, F this B. That's the stuff I hated.
Oh,
and I thought so much. I rewatched Tucker Carlson's interview with Kanye West.
Yeah.
And I just encourage people because Kanye's such an interesting character, and how when he wanted to speak out in favor of Trump, they wouldn't let him.
Right.
And I love how he put it. He said, if I wanted to write a song about killing cops, record label, they're all for it.
Yeah.
I want to come out in support of voting for the president of the United States. No, I can't do that.
Right.
I mean, amazing. Just incredible. That's what it comes down to. It's unbelievable. So anyhow, I mean, again, I go back, Jay, to these sales taxes and I mean, what is going to stop this from happening every single time? Every time a city wants something, every time the state wants to fund one little project, do we not have enough taxes here in Minnesota?
I'd say we have more than enough.
Okay, so then I mean, our state government's spending 3 times what it did 25 years ago. I mean, where is the end? I mean, and again, it's happened under Republicans and Democrats. I don't want to make this sound like this is a one-time thing. I mean, obviously, this legislature is worse, or is the worst, but there hasn't been too many good ones. No. So, I mean, because like I always say, if the two parties yell and scream at each other, do nothing, I'm fine with that. So, I mean, what is it going to take? How high? Well, we already answered how high, but I mean, when do the people put a stop to it? You know, I mean, what is it going to take? Like we talked about the very poor. Are they getting more in handouts than they're paying? But what's it going to take for these limousine liberals in Minnetonka and in Plymouth,
Golden Valley?
What is it going to take for them to go, all right, no more, just none? I mean, what's the tipping point? We've asked this on education too. When does the system just, when does it fall apart under its own weight? And just what has to happen?
I don't know. I think it might actually have to fall apart, unfortunately.
I mean, when the public schools can tell 5-year-old boys that they can identify as a 43-year-old Jewish lesbian, I don't understand. If that doesn't do it, what will?
Right.
What?
You got me. I don't have an answer for that. How much worse do things have to get? We have a country where we don't recognize our country. We live in utter foolishness. Nothing makes sense. Things are so outlandish that you wouldn't have believed that it was possible 10 years ago. But here we are.
I don't know. How did we go from a balanced budget and stuff in the 90s? Both parties, by the way.
Yeah.
How did we go from, how did that happen? I just don't get how it's happened.
Well, I mean, you have progressives that have kind of shed their progressivism. They were content with making small strides over almost 100 years. And I think they're close enough now where it's like, we got to grab this.
Or let me throw out another scenario. Is it that because when I grew up, which is not that long ago, the pitch Democrats always made to me was that they believed in capitalism with a social safety net.
Right.
Which you can agree or disagree on how much there should be, how much. This next generation, the people that are our age and younger, don't believe in that.
Right.
Like I listened to Robert Kennedy Jr. talk, and he talks like Democrats did 30 years ago.
Minus
the environmentalism stuff. But everything else, it's, no, we don't censor people around here. We don't force people to take a vaccine. We don't support abortion on demand. We don't support endless war. We don't support. 30 years ago, that's what I heard a Democrat say.
Right.
Okay. Now it's not what I hear them say.
Right. It's like, how extreme can they get? They like to call us conspiracy theorists and extremists, and it's cheap in the word because when
that word means nothing now.
When somebody actually is an extremist, it doesn't mean anything, and that's part of how they get away with all of this crap. But at the same time, it's to try and shut us down because it does mean something to us.
Well, I mean, again, if it's not extreme to have a 5-year-old have a sex change, I don't know what in the world extreme could mean.
Yeah. Not extreme to have thousands of kids coming across the border and ending up in trafficking and getting raped by multiple people every day.
The human trafficking in this country it's
out of control,
beyond sick,
and it makes me furious. But yet we don't have the Democrats are passing things, or not even passing things. They're just doing it. We're at a point in our government where they're just doing it, and they're doing it by executive fiat rather than trying to pass a law. And
true, at the same time,
so bad.
At the same time, and I hate to say this, maybe Republicans need to do the same. Maybe if I'm the governor of a border state, I'm doing what I have to do.
Well, I agree there. And they're actually...
Because this is an invasion.
They're empowered by the Constitution to do that.
They take an oath, enemies foreign and domestic. If there's people invading our country that don't be there, I have a constitutional duty to stop it.
Well, I mean, constitutionally speaking, the federal government is in charge of immigration. If, however, they do not live up to their end of the deal, the states are empowered to defend their borders.
Yes, through the 9th and 10th Amendments.
So,
I mean,
it's actually not even in the amendments. It's in the body of the Constitution.
Well, that's true.
Where they're allowed to do that.
It's reiterated, I would argue. That in the
you're right.
Yeah. But, I mean, yes, they absolutely have to. And state constitutions say certain things about that as well. This is how you can tell that government's so incompetent. Shutting down the border or getting control over it or stopping all this is supported by like 90% of the country.
Yes.
It is a lie that your average Democrat does not support what's going on down there. They may agree with Democrats on other issues, but I know Democrats personally who hate this.
Yeah.
But they won't pull it down for a different party. But stopping the crap would be greeted with a standing ovation by 80% of this nation. It really would be. It's like independence. It's like 90-10 that they want. And so it's amazing how it's supported by so many people, yet politicians don't do it.
Yeah. Well, same thing with voter ID.
Same thing with gambling.
Yeah.
Gambling. Why can't I gamble? You state of Minnesota, you run commercials telling me to go to the Holiday gas station and play the lottery.
Yep.
But if I put $50 on the Vikings, all of a sudden now, and I'd put 10 cents, all of a sudden now
I wouldn't.
I'm a fugitive.
Right.
Now you tell me what the difference is. I don't get it.
Well, the state of Minnesota isn't getting their cut.
Oh, that's right.
That's all it is. When the state is benefiting, you can do anything. You can break any law. You can make up any law. It's just government by willy-nilly is all it is.
God, I love and hate this state. I just love and hate this state.
Yeah.
I love the state and hate its government. I mean, hate. Hate's not a word I like to use.
Yeah.
But the worst part about Minnesota is our government. And it's not close.
Yeah.
I would take a sub-zero winter 10 months out of the year to get rid of this government.
I don't know.
You would too.
I might.
Tell me you freeze your baguettes off.
But
just at your house, Jay. We'll just make your house.
Oh, fantastic. I'm usually working. I'm not here anyway, so.
Well, then we'll make it your car.
But this is the problem, though. Why do people vote in their worst interest when they know that they're getting hurt? They know that they hate what's going on, but what is going on is so. It pales in comparison to pulling the lever.
Okay, you
want to
know why? You really want to know
ridiculous.
Why? I'll tell you why. Emotion.
Yeah.
Democrats are emotional voters. They don't respond to intellectual things the way you and I do.
Of course they do, because they all come from the university.
No, they wouldn't know an intellectual argument if it bit their nose off.
I know.
They react to, well, if I get a tax cut, then little Johnny doesn't get his free lunch. Well, so-and-so doesn't get their bus ride. So-and-so, they react emotionally.
Right.
Instead of thinking, okay, government can say yes or no to a million different, you can show it to, it's like the people who still think Dr. Fauci is right. I could show footage of Fauci cooking a virus on his stove, and a third of the country wouldn't believe it.
Well, and we're getting to that point with deep fakes where we don't know what to believe anymore.
All I know is this. The biggest liars on the face of the earth are government.
Yes.
If government says something, good bet the truth is 180 degrees the opposite.
Right.
And don't call me a conspiracy theory for thinking that. Pick your lie. Okay? Government tell you the truth? No. Well, then why do you vote for bigger government?
Right.
So, I don't know. It is very hard to rationalize, though, with someone who votes emotionally. They just can't think. They're not capable of it.
Right.
I mean, that sounds bad to say, but it's the truth.
Why?
We've got to cover grandma's insulin. We got to lower the cost.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't lower the cost. You just gave me the bill. How does that work?
Yeah. I mean, why you
and look at the blank stare that will come. You literally can look at a liberal and see Des Moines through their head when you say something like that. Oh, free college. Well, it's not free. You're just billing someone else. Huh? And you'll get just a cross-eyed look like they've been hit over the head with a hammer. I mean, they don't think beyond that.
Well, I think a lot of that, though, is the liberal talking points come through your mainstream media. And they either look to the mainstream media, either because they always have, or because it's the loudest voice in the room, or they don't know because they don't know where else to go. Like a lot of Republicans, they don't know where else to go. It's like if it's just on Fox News, which is just about everything, you have a country that's going circling the drain and they don't talk about anything important, They'll talk about the border, but they're not going to talk about the economy. Now that Rupert Murdoch's out of the picture and his kids are the ones running the show, you really don't hear about the economy. And how dangerously close we are.
Yeah, Rupert Murdoch had to earn his living. The kids didn't have to.
Right.
All right, Jay. Let's. Why don't we do this? We need a little inspiration, Jay. I mean, it's been an hour and a half of horribleness. Just say anything. Just something. Just sing a song. I don't know what you want to do, but we got to have something here. We're styling, profiling, jet flying, limousine riding, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun. Jay, just say anything. Sing a lullaby. I don't care.
You want me to sing a song? We're doomed. We're doomed.
Check, please.
At some point, there has to be a way where we actually realize how much money we're giving our government, how little we're keeping. I mean, don't you want your money to go in your own pocket? Don't you want it to go towards your kids, your grandkids? Don't you want to be able to keep more of what you earned? That just seems to make a world of sense. But yet we keep voting for people and supporting measures that take the money out of our pocket and put it into the pocket. We think it's going to the poor, but really it's just going to government. The poor may see a little bit of it, but when the poor sees a little bit of the money that we sent to St. Paul or to Washington, it's coming back with strings attached. It is just a small fraction, and it really is building a bigger, slightly bigger, maybe not bigger, maybe that's the wrong word. It's building a stronger prison in which to hold them. The poor, they're getting more government money, more government help, more perks from the government, but you can't ever hope to escape that. I mean, you can't, because if you try to escape it, all of a sudden you don't have the money that you need to live on. The government has built such a prison around our poor. And it's a shame. There's no way to get a hand up and escape it without taking some hits on the way up. And we have to figure out a way for people to understand when they're voting for somebody, what kind of pain is that going to inflict on them? What is the tax obligation for each individual? I mean, we already know how much, you can figure out how much you're paying in state income tax, in federal income tax. But then if you figure in your state, your property taxes, your fees and licenses, and all of these type of things that you're on the hook for, it really ends up being, for most people that pay taxes, it's pretty close to half, if not over half. I mean, you're working so much of the year just to give the government money, and you're not seeing anything. You're having to work hard just so that somebody can take it from you. Let me speak to you for a moment. If you're listening to this show today and you're African American, or you came over here from another country, they try to tell you that, oh, you got to vote Democrat because they're the ones that look out for the little guy. They're the ones that care about the poor. They're the ones that set up programs to help the poor. They set up these programs only so that you will continue to vote for them, and they give you the least amount possible. Check it out, because I'll tell you, if you actually look into it, that is exactly what you will find. It's got to stop. It has to come to an end, and we can do that. We could do it, but it's got to come with a change mindset. We've got to be willing to look outside of our current structure in order to be able to put together something that is different. We've got to look to our founding and otherwise we're just going to keep chasing our tail. I'm going to keep going around the mountain yet one more time. So what do? We got to stand somewhere. And so I just I encourage you, as you're looking at what our government is doing, there's a whole lot more of that on the way. You think they're done? You think they pass a tax bill and they're just done now? They're satisfied? That's the end of it? They're going to look for more ways to get more money. More ways to get more money. So, the only way to do that is to put yourself in a position where you can make those decisions. Where you yourself can have a voice. We can't keep sending the same knuckleheads to St. Paul and to Washington and think that there's going to be any change whatsoever in how things are run. No, we have to step up and step in and say enough. Enough of this. And you can do this. But it comes by sacrifice. We can. If we decide to band together, that we're not going to put up with this stuff, that we're going to send every omnibus bill back to where it came from. We're not gonna agree to sign them anymore. These omnibus bills are ruining our state. They're ruining our country. You have such a vital role to play. You were put here for a time such as this so that you are able to stand up. Mentor a group of people around you and and stop this onslaught. But it's time, right now, to decide. Like Ronald Reagan said, now is a time for choosing. So what do we do with it? How do we work through? Well, you got to make a decision that you're going to sacrifice and do whatever it takes to make sure that your children, your grandchildren are taken care of. So what do we do? Oh. You got to stand up. You got to say, I'll be counted. You got to say, I will run for something. And if that's you and you want to turn this thing around, we can turn this thing around. We just know that we've got a good system to do it here at Community Solutions. So get a hold of us, commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. That's commsolutionsmn@gmail.com, and let's start putting together the frame of your campaign, the plan, the strategy to build a team and to take over the makeup of your city council, your school board, your county board. Heck, getting sheriffs and county attorneys elected as well. But we need people to do the work. So if that's you, get a hold of us, commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. That is commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. We can work together to make something great. But we've got to have you on our side. We love you, Minnesota. But now it's your turn to get to work.
If I get too caught